I'm Amelia, 32 years old. People who meet me for the first time usually say the same thing. You're so full of life. They'll gush, and I'll give them the bright, easy smile I've perfected over the years. I light up rooms. I'm the woman with a quick laugh and a quicker comeback. I know what I want, and I've never been shy about saying so. It's part of my charm, I think. At least, that's what I tell myself. My husband, Leo, would probably call it something else. Leo is 34. He's the kind of man that stories are written about. Not the prince in the castle, but the man who built the castle with his own two hands. He's quiet, steady, with a confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. Women fall over him. I see it all the time. The way their eyes linger on his broad shoulders, on the callous strength in his hands. He's a custom furniture maker, a master carpenter. He takes forgotten pieces of wood, reclaimed oak from old barns, walnut from fallen trees, and turns them into art. He didn't go to college. Barely scraped through high school, from what I've heard. And then there's me, Amelia. The one with the art history degree from a good university. The one who understands theory and form and the grand sweep of cultural movements. I work part-time in a high-end art gallery in Bridgewater. Because the pace is manageable. It's low stress. Leo has never once thrown his success in my face. He doesn't have to. It's just there. A silent, towering presence in our lives. It's there every time my parents come over for dinner. My father, a literature professor, will clap Leo on the back and say something like, "Leo, my boy, that new restaurant commission is astonishing. A true artist at work." And my mother will just beam at him, this self-made man who has built a business from sawdust and determination. And me? I just stand there, swirling the wine in my glass. How many times can you hear, "Wow, Leo, you're so impressive," before it starts to sound like, "And what is it you do again, Amelia?" I did everything right. I got the grades. I earned the degree. And yet, here I am, watching my husband, the man who probably can't even spell Renaissance, pull so far ahead of me it feels like he's in a different race altogether. I hate to admit it, but sometimes, it eats at me. Not in a big, explosive way. More like a tiny, gnawing voice in the back of my mind. It's not fair. That's the thought that started it all. The teasing, it began as a joke. I swear it did. It wasn't a conscious decision. We had my family over for dinner one night. My father was, as usual, singing Leo's praises over a new table he'd built for a client. Leo, ever humble, made some self-deprecating comment about just being a guy who likes working with his hands, that you don't need a degree for that. I laughed. A little too loudly, probably. "Oh, that's for sure," I chirped, reaching for the salt. "But at least my degree taught me the difference between a dovetail joint and a box joint. You wouldn't want your clients thinking you're cutting corners, right, honey?" The table went quiet for a fraction of a second. My dad gave a hesitant chuckle. My mom shot me a look, the one that says be nice. But Leo, he just smiled. That calm, steady smile that drives me insane. He met my eyes across the table and said, "You're right. It's a good thing I have you to keep me honest." And that was it. He let it slide. That's the thing about Leo. He never reacts the way I want him to. I don't even know what reaction I'm looking for, really. For him to get flustered? To argue back? To admit that maybe, just maybe, I'm smarter than him in some ways that actually matter? But he never does. He's always calm. Always so damn composed. It's infuriating. A few weeks later, I did it again. This time, in front of our friends. We were at a barbecue in our backyard. One of our friends, Mark, was asking Leo about his plans to expand his workshop. Leo was explaining his vision, the new equipment he wanted to buy, the apprentices he was thinking of hiring. He was passionate, articulate. Everyone was hanging on his every word. I felt that familiar twist in my gut. So I chimed in, my voice bright and breezy. "It's all very ambitious for a guy who used to think fiscal year was a type of fish, huh?" Everyone laughed. It was a joke, right? Just Amelia being Amelia. Leo just shrugged, a small smile playing on his lips as he flipped the burgers on the grill. But I saw it. Just for a second. A flicker of something in his eyes. It wasn't anger. It was something else. Hurt, maybe. And a dark, ugly part of me felt satisfied. Is that a terrible thing to admit? It probably is. But in that moment, I didn't care. The teasing became a habit after that. little comments, here and there, always wrapped in just enough humor to pass. Oh, don't ask Leo about politics. He gets his news from the pictures. Hey babe, want me to look over that invoice for you? You know, since numbers aren't really your thing. Looking back, I think I was testing him, pushing the boundaries, seeing how far I could go before he would finally snap, before he would finally fight me. But he never did. Leo isn't a fighter. Not with words, anyway. He just withdraws. He'd go quiet. The easy conversations after dinner dwindled. He started spending more time in his workshop, sketching designs, even after a long day. At first, I was too caught up in my own petty victories to notice the growing silence between us. Then one Tuesday, he didn't come home for dinner. It wasn't like him. Leo is a creature of habit. Home by 6, always. I texted him. An hour passed before he replied. Working late. Don't wait up. No explanation, no apology, just 6 words. And for the first time, I felt a pang of something I couldn't quite name. Guilt? Fear? Maybe both. When he finally came home, it was past midnight. I was in bed, scrolling through my phone, pretending not to care. But when I heard the front door open, my heart hammered against my ribs. He didn't come upstairs. I heard him moving around in the kitchen, the deliberate clink of a glass, the soft closing of a cabinet. Finally, I couldn't stand it. I threw on a robe and went downstairs. He was standing at the counter, eating a cold sandwich from a plate, staring out the window into the dark. He didn't even look up when I came in. Late night, I said, trying to sound casual. Yep. His tone was flat, emotionless. Everything okay? I pressed, leaning against the doorframe. Fine. And that was it. No details. Just one-word answers that left me feeling more frustrated than ever. I wanted to scream, to demand he tell me what was wrong, but something about the look on his face stopped me. He looked tired, not just physically tired, but a deep emotional exhaustion, like he'd finally reached the end of his rope. I went back upstairs without another word. I told myself I didn't care. If he wanted to act like a sulking teenager, that was his problem. But deep down, I knew something had shifted between us, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was the one who had pushed him there. The next morning, Leo was gone before I woke up. There was a note on the kitchen counter. Left early. Plumber is coming at 10. Don't forget. That was it. No. Love you. No little smiley face like he used to draw. Just a reminder about the plumber. It annoyed me more than it should have. By the time he got home that evening, I'd decided I was going to apologize. Not because I felt like I'd done anything truly wrong, but because I couldn't stand the atmosphere in the house. It was exhausting, walking on eggshells around him. I figured if I just said the words, he'd snap out of this passive-aggressive nonsense and we could go back to normal. When he walked through the door, I was on the couch, pretending to read. He glanced at me, gave a single nod, and headed for the kitchen. I followed him. Hey. Hey, he replied, not looking up as he opened the fridge. Can we talk for a second? He finally looked at me, his expression unreadable. He grabbed a bottle of water and leaned against the counter. What's up? I hesitated, suddenly feeling awkward. I wanted to say I'm sorry, you know, for some of the things I've said, the teasing and all that. Leo raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. He just looked at me, waiting. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, I added quickly. I was just joking around. I guess I didn't realize it was bothering you. He nodded slowly, taking a sip of his water. Okay, that was it. Just, okay. No, thank you. I appreciate that. No, it's all right, I forgive you. Just okay. It was like he was deliberately trying to make this as difficult as possible. So, are we good? I asked, forcing a smile. Leo studied me for a long moment, his eyes searching mine as if trying to figure out if I was being sincere. Sure, Amelia, he said finally. We're good. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt irritated. I'd apologized, hadn't I? What more did he want? Over the next few days, things felt a little more normal on the surface. But there was a new stiffness to him, a careful distance he kept. It was like he was holding a part of himself back, and I didn't know how to get it back. One night, as we were lying in bed, I tried again. You've been really quiet lately, I said, keeping my voice light. Is everything okay? Leo turned to look at me, his face serious in the dim light. Everything's fine, Amelia. I'm just trying to focus on what's important. What's that supposed to mean? I asked, frowning. It means I've been thinking a lot, he said, his voice quiet but firm. About where we're headed, about what I want for the future. My heart started pounding. And what does that mean? Are you saying you're not happy? I'm saying I want us to be better, he said, and the calmness in his voice felt more damning than any anger. I don't think we've been on the same page lately. Was this his way of saying he wanted out? I apologized, I said defensively. I thought we were fine. It's not just about the apology, Amelia, he said. It's about respect, and I don't think we've been showing each other much of that lately. I opened my mouth to argue, but the words caught in my throat. He was being so mature, so reasonable, and it made me feel small, petty. So I did what I always do when I feel cornered. I lashed out. Fine, I said, crossing my arms. If that's how you feel, then maybe you need to figure out what you really want. He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. Maybe I do. With that, he rolled over and turned off the light, leaving me alone in the dark with a sinking feeling I couldn't quite shake. The next morning, it was like our conversation had never happened, but his calmness now felt different. It wasn't just composure, it felt like resolution, like he'd made peace with something. And that scared me more than anything. For the first time, it occurred to me that Leo didn't need me. He was self-sufficient, capable, and let's be honest, a catch. I started thinking about how other women must see him. Women who wouldn't poke at his insecurities. Women who would probably make him feel appreciated. The thought began to fester. By the time the Artisans Guild Gala rolled around a week later, I had convinced myself that he was either cheating or thinking about it. I hated these work events. All these artsy, successful people who looked at me like I was just Leo's pretty, decorative wife. But he insisted I come, and that's where I met her. Her name was Chloe. Of course it was. She was maybe 28, an interior designer with that effortless, sun-kissed look that made me feel instantly rumpled and overdone. She was the one who had commissioned Leo for the massive new hotel lobby downtown. The moment she walked over to us, her attention was a laser beam focused solely on Leo. Leo, she beamed, flipping her perfect blonde hair. It's so good to see you. I was just telling the hotel manager how you're an absolute genius. Honestly, I don't know how you do it. Leo smiled. One of those genuine, easy smiles I hadn't seen directed at me in weeks. Thanks, Chloe. You've been great to work with. No. I tried to insert myself into the conversation, but Chloe barely glanced at me. She was too busy gushing. You're such an inspiration, she continued, her eyes wide with admiration. To build what you've built, without a formal education, it takes a kind of grit most people just don't have. My stomach twisted into a tight, acid knot. It wasn't just the words. It was the way she said them. Like he was a hero. I knew I should let it go. But my insecurities were screaming. If she thought he was so amazing, maybe it was time she saw the whole picture. Oh, he's great, I said, my voice a little too sweet. The conversation stopped. They both looked at me. But he's had his struggles. You know, he's lucky he has a good accountant. He once nearly underbid that huge library project because he miscalculated the cost of lumber by thousands of dollars. I gave a little laugh. I guess that's what happens when you skip business school, right? The words hung in the air, toxic and ugly. Leo's smile vanished. Chloe's expression shifted from admiration to acute discomfort. She glanced at Leo, unsure what to say. He didn't take the bait. He just looked at me, his jaw tight. Well, he said, his voice dangerously even. We all have our strengths. Chloe, if you'll excuse us for a moment. Ard. Before I could react, he took my elbow, his grip firm but not painful, and steered me away from the group, toward a quiet corner near the terrace. What the hell was that, Amelia? He asked, his voice low and seething. What was what? I shot back, yanking my arm away. I was just being honest. No, he said, his eyes narrowing. You were being petty. And cruel. For what? To embarrass me in front of a client? To make yourself feel superior? A surge of defensive anger rose in my chest. She was flirting with you. Don't act like you didn't notice. Leo sighed, a long, weary sound, and ran a hand through his hair. Chloe was not flirting. She was being professional. And even if she was, it wouldn't matter, because I am married to you. Or have you forgotten that? Oh, so now this is my fault? I snapped, my voice rising. You're the one lapping up her attention like some lost puppy. He just stared at me for a long moment, his expression tired and sad. This isn't about Chloe, Amelia. This has never been about her. He took a step closer, his voice dropping to a quiet intensity that chilled me to the bone. This is about you. About the fact that you cannot stand it when someone gives me the respect you refuse to. That's not true, I said, but the words felt hollow. Isn't it? He said quietly. You've spent months tearing me down, piece by piece. And now, when someone else tries to build me up, you can't handle it. Do you even hear yourself? I felt tears prick my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I just don't want to lose you, I whispered, the words cracking. His expression softened, but only for a second. You're not going to lose me to someone else, Amelia, he said. If you lose me, it will be because you pushed me away, because you kept trying to tear me down just to make yourself feel taller. That was it. The final straw. All the frustration and insecurity I'd bottled up came spilling out. Oh, don't you dare act like you're some kind of saint, Leo, I spat. You've been distant and cold and impossible. Maybe if you actually paid attention to me instead of your stupid blocks of wood, we wouldn't be in this mess. He didn't even flinch. He just stood there, watching me, his eyes full of a profound exhaustion. I do care about you, Amelia, he said quietly, but I can't keep doing this. I can't live in a house where I feel like I constantly have to apologize for my own success. Ever tact. His words cut deeper than I wanted to admit. He shook his head slowly, then turned and walked away, leaving me standing there alone, surrounded by the murmur of the party, feeling the entire world crash down around me. The days after the gala were a new kind of hell. The distance between us was no longer a quiet, aching space. It was a chasm, a deliberate, uncrossable divide. He wasn't just withdrawn, he was gone, even when he was in the same room. He took his dinners to the kitchen island. He spent his evenings in his office with the door closed. I was living with a ghost. My mind, unmoored from reality, went to the only place it could. It has to be Chloe. Every time he smiled faintly at something on his phone, I was convinced it was a text from her. Every late night at the workshop was, in my mind, a secret rendezvous. One night, after he'd fallen into a deep, exhausted sleep, I did something I thought I'd never do. I picked up his phone from the nightstand. My hands were shaking as I typed in his passcode, our anniversary, a code I knew because he trusted me. I scrolled through his messages, my heart pounding, ready to find the damning evidence. But there was nothing. No text from Chloe. No incriminating conversations. Just boring back and forths with clients, suppliers, and his brother. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt even more desperate. If it wasn't someone else, then what was it? Why did it feel like he was already gone? The next day, I took it a step further. I told him I was meeting a friend for coffee. Instead, I drove to his workshop. I parked across the street and I watched. For 2 hours, I sat in my car like a private detective in a bad movie, waiting, hoping to catch him, dreading what I might see. Nothing happened. He came out once to grab a sandwich from the deli next door. He looked normal, focused, completely oblivious to the fact that his wife was spying on him like a lunatic. I went home feeling defeated and pathetic. If I couldn't find the evidence, maybe I just needed to force it out of him. That night, I waited until he was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. Who is she? I asked, my voice trembling. He looked up, confused. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb with me, Leo, I snapped. I know there's someone else. Just tell me the truth. Is it Chloe? Leo's expression didn't change. He set his phone down calmly. Amelia, there is no one else. I don't know how many more times I need to say that. You expect me to believe you? I shot back, my voice rising with hysteria. You've been acting weird for weeks. You're never home, you're always on your phone. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I've been distant because I'm tired, Amelia. I am tired of trying to make this work when all you do is look for ways to tear me down. You're accusing me of cheating when I have done nothing but put up with your constant criticism and paranoia. That struck a nerve. Put up with me? I said, my voice shaking with a rage that felt white hot. Are you serious right now? You should be grateful. I'm the only reason you even look respectable. The only reason you know which fork to use at dinner. His jaw tightened, but he didn't interrupt. He just stared at me, his eyes colder than I'd ever seen them. And the words, the ugliest, most venomous words I'd ever thought, just spilled out. I'm the one who's had to cover for you, I screamed, the sound echoing in the silent house. I'm the one who has to explain to my family why my husband is a high school dropout. I'm the one who has to smile and pretend everything's fine while you act like you're better than everyone just because you got lucky with your stupid little business. He didn't yell. He didn't defend himself. He just stood up. He walked to the small table by the door, picked up his keys, and slid his wallet into his back pocket. I can't do this anymore, he said. His voice was quiet, but it had the finality of a closing door. Where are you going? I demanded, panic finally cutting through the anger. Somewhere I don't have to listen to this, he said, not looking at me. I'll be back when I'm ready to talk. Don't wait up. And just like that, he was gone. I stood there, stunned, the horrible words I'd said still hanging in the air. I'd crossed a line. I knew it. But instead of regret, all I felt was a hollow, burning anger. For the first time, I realized I might actually lose him. And the worst part? It would be entirely my fault. He didn't come home that night, or the next. A week passed. A week of me calling his phone over and over, leaving messages that swung wildly from furious accusations to tearful, pathetic pleas. He never answered. I drove to his workshop, only to be told by his polite but firm assistant that he was in a meeting. When I finally heard from him, it was a text. I need time, Amelia. I'll let you know when I'm ready. For weeks, I spiraled. Then, one day, he agreed to meet me for coffee. I showed up early, rehearsing my apologies, my promises to change. But when he walked in, I barely recognized him. He looked a lighter. The exhaustion was gone from his eyes. He looked peaceful. It stung to realize that the weight that had been lifted off his shoulders was me. I think it's best if we separate, he said, cutting straight to the point. His voice was calm, not unkind, but absolute. I need to focus on my life, on building something healthy, and I don't think we can do that together anymore. I argued. I pleaded. I brought up our history, our vows. But he just sat there, resolute. After that, we lived separate lives. The months dragged on. I threw myself into my work at the gallery, telling myself I was fine, that I didn't need him. But it was a lie. The silence in my apartment was deafening. Then one afternoon, my friend Stephanie sent me a screenshot. No text, just the image. It was a Facebook post from Chloe. It was a picture of her and Leo, standing on a mountaintop, bathed in golden sunlight. He had his arm around her, and she was leaning into him, glowing with a happiness so radiant it felt like a physical blow. He was smiling. A real, deep, unguarded smile. The caption read, "Found my peace." I felt the air leave my lungs. He had moved on. The next day, I showed up at his workshop, unannounced. When he saw me standing in the doorway of his office, his expression hardened. "Amelia, what are you doing here?" I saw the picture. I snapped, the venom back in my voice. "You didn't even have the decency to tell me you were seeing someone." He sighed, crossing his arms. "We've been separated for 6 months. I didn't think I owed you an explanation." "Of course you do," I cried. "We're still married." "Not for long," he said, his voice steady. "I've already filed the paperwork. You'll be getting the documents soon." His words hit me like a slap. You're divorcing me?" I whispered, the fight draining out of me. "Yes, Amelia. I am," he said. "This isn't healthy. It's time we both moved on." Tears were welling up, but I fought them back. "You're throwing me away," I said, my voice shaking. "For her." He looked at me then, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of pity in his eyes. "This was never about her," he said, his voice firm but gentle. "This is about me. About me finally choosing a life that isn't filled with anger and resentment. This is about me choosing peace." Ezzy. I stared at him, searching for some sign of regret, of hesitation. There was none. I had spent so much time trying to tear him down, I hadn't noticed he'd been quietly building the courage to leave. 2 weeks later, the divorce papers arrived. There was no alimony. The legal document stated clearly that I had a degree and the ability to support myself. He wasn't going to let me take advantage of him anymore. I signed them, my hands numb. Months after it was all finalized, I saw another post. It was a picture of their hands. Chloe's adorned with a simple, elegant ring made of wood and gold. His creation. He looked happy. Truly, deeply happy. And I realized, with a clarity that was both sharp and agonizing, that he had every right to be. I had been given the chance to love a kind, patient, and brilliant man. A man who built beautiful things from nothing. and I had thrown it all away, piece by piece, because I couldn't stand the light he cast, a light that only exposed my own shadows. And now, I was left with nothing but the memories of the life I had destroyed, alone, in the wreckage I had made myself.